You know what it is? It's Casper Consulting Live Q&A. Today I got my boy Josh Graves. We're going to talk about some entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about being an engineer. We're really going to talk about being a person who can wear more than one hat. And we're going to talk about all sides of that. How you doing today, Josh?
Man, I'm doing great. Appreciate you having me on, man.
I appreciate you for hopping on, boss man. So, man, where are you from? Tell me a little bit about yourself that they don't know.
Yeah, I'm from Davenport, Iowa. It's the Quad Cities, right here, right in the Midwest of Iowa, man. I've been building my business for like the last 9 years as a recording studio, and now I'm kind of gradually pivoting to be more of a co-working space, media hub. It'll still have a recording studio, but that's really not the only thing that it is. So we really want to prioritize building a place that empowers entrepreneurs and creatives to be successful in their business and really learn the skills that they need to be better at it altogether. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you said 9 years. How's that journey been?
man, it's been a roller coaster, bro. To be honest, there's been ups and downs, but I mean, this year has been really stressful for COVID, but it's actually been a really blessed year for me, man. Like, there's a lot going on at the beginning of the year, and it's like everything kind of like landed where it was intended to. So this year for me, I've just really been trying to go with the flow and follow the kind of the path or energy that you're supposed to, and just kind of like not trying to force things, but really have good intentions and put that energy out into the world.
Yeah,
So
definitely. This I got my LLC this year, so I'm kind of, but it's
congrats, bro.
like I think being an artist, not think I know, being an artist is an entrepreneur, right? So that's like a big thing. So I've been an entrepreneur too for so long. I don't realize like the actual, when you start actually working on logistics,
Right.
um,
And
what
that
do
and
you,
that's one of the biggest passions for me, bro, is that a lot of artists they don't consider themselves entrepreneurs, so they won't go after any skills or any try to learn anything that will help them in those aspects, which is
yes.
crucial to their success as an artist to brand develop, know the ins and outs of the business that you're in, and be able to succeed in those ways. I mean, obviously, when you're first starting out, you want to develop your craft, of course. You want to,
Right.
you want to. That's your milk and butter. So you want to develop those skills strong, of course, and you want to continue to develop those skills. But a lot of artists that I see try to focus on just the creative side and then leave out all the business side, and then be like, well, why aren't I successful, or why aren't I living up to the hype that I wanted it to be? So I feel like those are crucial to the success of artists. And on the other end, a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand that they're creative as hell too. You created a brand
Yes.
from nothing,
Yes.
and it helps if you're working with creatives as an entrepreneur to be able to know more about what's going on in the creative industry in order to bridge those gaps between the two.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
100%. It's like artist and entrepreneur is like the same person.
Right.
So, but a lot of times when you're an artist, you forget that you're an entrepreneur. But when you're an entrepreneur, you forget that you're a creative
Exactly.
artist,
Yeah.
right?
So
Um, I want to ask you. So, we'll just put a number on it. For every 10 artists that come in and record, how many would you say are prepared? When I say prepared, not saying that the music's bad or good. I mean prepared business wise for the industry.
probably not very many to
Yeah.
be real. Yeah. And so I mean that's one of the reasons why I saw that as an audio engineer prior to this year is that I could help them get their song sounding good and I could do this, but I felt like I wasn't doing enough because they
Mhm.
weren't reaching that self success for themselves because they weren't learning the skills that they needed on the business end as an entrepreneur. And so, yeah, I'm always going to be an audio engineer. I'm always going to be a producer, but I feel like I can do more good showing people like, hey, this is what you need to do to file your LLC. This is what you need to do to file taxes. These are the things that you can withhold on taxes because these things helped your career. So
Yes.
like, a lot of people think they're intimidating and don't want to go forward, but those things are crucial. Like that's why I'm really adamant about that new app Clubhouse because there's a
Oh
lot of people
man.
going on there and learning some things that they need to learn. And so I feel like, yeah, COVID has been a crazy situation. Unfortunate for a lot of business owners, creatives, and the whole scene. But I feel like there's a lot of time for innovation and a lot of time for us to develop those skills to apply post COVID. You know, find out new ways to show your craft, find out new ways to make income off your craft that you may not have, you know, you were kind of forced to do, you know, forced to make ways to make money that you weren't really thinking of before.
Yes.
You can't sell merch in person anymore, so now you need to set up a web store. You know, like you can't, you know, I could go on, but you know, like COVID forced artists to really take that next step to say, hey, I should have been doing this already, you know, like.
Oh yeah.
And so like I think there's a good opportunity here for like the next, you know, after post COVID, I feel like people are gonna come back like ready, empowered, and excited to like show the world like what they came up with while they were in lockdown, you know, like and like social distancing and stuff. So I'm excited to see what's next, really.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting thing. Me as an artist, I've been able to kind of switch up my whole gears that I've been wanting to venture in. I had the goals to do it, and then here I am. I was like, you know what? There's no better time than now. So I
Right.
just really, when I got into like for example, doing this live Q&A, it's a way for artists to watch this and learn. You talked about Clubhouse. I'm on Clubhouse. I love hopping in rooms and listening. We've started a couple of smaller rooms to really just educate each other, because I think that's the biggest, that's the biggest thing that most artists lack. It's not the talent, it's the education.
Right.
And we're from, Iowa and Illinois. If you're not from Chicago, and still then, if you don't live in Chicago, you don't really have a lot of options in the Midwest to
Right.
really own your craft and get the knowledge that you need.
Right.
So I definitely applaud you for trying to put that energy out in the world and helping artists, because it's just one of my biggest pet peeves is like when I try to talk to artists, I like explain like, hey, you got to know this, you got to know that. Are you with a pro? Are you signing up with a PRO?
Right.
What's
I
that?
mean, there's artists out here that are getting thousands and millions of streams, and unfortunately aren't making a dollar off of it because they didn't do their business right. And it's like, man, you're missing out on money. You know, you're missing out on, you know, you say you want to do this professionally, or you say you want to make a living off this. Well, you might have to double back and do the things that you need to get your business right. You know, like I feel like there's a lot of potential for artists more than ever to make a living off their craft by building a brand and using the platforms and things and resources that they have available now with the internet and all these different things that keep coming, you know, all these new different technologies that make it more viable for artists to not be that starving artist, to be, you know, a fat artist because they did their business right, you know.
For real. What so if we'll talk about the business side. Here's a quick question for you. What would you say are two things that artists don't realize they can have as tax deductions?
Probably like clothes. You know, like you buy clothes for a show or for a music video or something like that. That can be written off. Food. You know, say you meet a videographer and you guys have lunch. You can pay for his meal and write that off too. Like,
yes,
I can go on and on and on and on and on. Like the gas that you paid to get to the gig, to get to the video. I mean, like there's so much stuff, and yet you got to get yourself in a habit of keeping receipts and doing all those things and using.
It takes a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's why, I mean, it's been a 9-year journey, 10-year journey for me, because you know I had to learn those things as I went, and so for me, if I can say, hey, bro, come over here and not bump your head on all the things that I had to bump my head on, you might have an advantage to really make it out the Midwest more than some of the other people around, you know? So like, I feel like there's an empowerment to teaching each other, you know, in a community, you know, form, is that, you know, you're going to learn from someone that you're bumping elbows with. You're going to learn from the people that you're working with, which is why I continue to push collaboration as well, because if we can continue to learn things and utilize the strengths that each other have, we're only going to be successful, you know? So it's super important. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are just like, they don't have that work ethic. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, me sitting down, like I wake up and I'm like, okay, I got the receipts. Let me get my numbers and let me put everything in these Excel sheets. Let me make sure I got my finances right and understanding what I'm supposed to be spending on. Okay, now I got to do my taxes. How do I do this? Like you're learning and you're wearing just in the entrepreneurship side. As an entrepreneur in general, you're wearing 7, 8 hats.
Right.
And you're an artist too. So like you're being an artist and trying to be an entrepreneur. I mean, honestly, if you can get your stuff right, you don't really need like, I guess I don't want to say you don't need a label because a label's nice, but if you can really figure out how to run a business, that's all it is.
Right. And even learning these things that you're not, maybe you don't want to do them forever on your own. You don't want to wear all the hats forever.
No.
But even knowing a little bit about these things, when you hire someone or you utilize the service from somebody else, you're less likely to get screwed over.
Exactly.
If you know that the way that you're supposed to file taxes, somebody else isn't going to do it wrong for you. So like you'll be able to know more to do better. So like that's why it's just I mean like 5 years or 2 years from down the line, you might want to hire an accountant. You might want to hire different people to do these different things, marketing and all that. But when you're first starting out, when you're broke, you have time more than anything.
Yeah.
You utilize that time to build your brand because no one else is going to do it for you until you have that money to pay people to do their job. So like while you're broke and while you're starting out, utilize the hours that you have to learn, to learn things that are going to be directly applied to benefiting your business.
Yeah, I would. And I mean, as an artist, I would even suggest, and this is probably just like some good helpful gems, is like I would suggest utilizing the people who support you, like just kind of figuring out ways, how can I support you back?
Right.
To really help what I got going on. Like, hey, I'll send you, you'll be the first one to hear this song if you make sure you share it. You'll be, if you have $5-10, hey, it's $5. I'll buy your next lunch.
And then another thing, like the reason I'm so adamant about collaboration is because say, you're a hip hop artist, you're a rapper or whatever, but say you have a photographer out here in your community that you're like, man, he's hard. If you guys if you guys collaborate and push each other's brand, say, he comes in and works on a shirt collab with you and you guys promote that together, you guys are going to get double the connections, double the fan base, double the following because you guys are working together to promote that with two brands.
Yes. I definitely feel like people lack on the idea of bartering within and so when you say collab, we'll even use it is an easier term so it's understood. It's like bartering instead of just like, oh, let's collab. Like we can barter something. I am a videographer. I'll shoot your music video if you help me get other clients. I'll whatever you want to barter. Y'all figure it out. But there's ways to it because we're all starving artists. All of us are starving entrepreneurs. So how can we help each other? Right. Now, I think there is levels to it because I think there are a lot of people who are very like, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? What can you do for me?
I mean, realistically, it does have to be mutually beneficial, because there are a lot of people that don't understand their status, and that's okay. Like, if you're a fresh starting artist, don't reach out to the photographer that's been doing it 12 years and think he's gonna do it for free. Like, there's a give and take here. Like, you might act like he's acting stuck up or whatever, but he's getting paid X amount of dollars every photo shoot. So you got to make it worth him at least that amount of money or more for him to want to consider doing it. If you have, if you got 12 followers on Instagram and I got 10,000, it really doesn't benefit me as much as, there just has to be an even fair trade, So like when you reach out to people and you want to connect with them, you want to barter with them, make sure that what you're offering them equals or even over equals the amount of value that they're going to get out of it.
Because you reached out to them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I've learned. That's one of the things I've been learning. I mean, when I took a class a long time ago in entrepreneurship, and it was talking about business to business selling, and it was like the fact of the matter is it has to be win-win. If the relationship isn't win-win, there's no point. You can't just walk into here and say, oh, like you're making $1 million right now, but you need to work with me. And I don't gotta, let's not even put big numbers out there. If you made $500 this month and I've never made $1 off of music, I can't just assume like, oh, well, you're supposed to work with me because I think so. Like it really has to be beneficial for both parties. Now, we'll use the example you said with the photography, right? What if a guy comes and say, hey, I know if you're like busy on your photo shoots, like if you do a shoot for me, I'll come and be like a PA for you, or like I'll be your assistant.
Right.
There's little stuff, but I don't think that we as artists, we're so in our egos. It's an ego thing.
Yeah.
So, and I think entrepreneurs are the same way.
Yeah.
So it's egos, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so you've been running your business for 9 years. How long have you been an engineer?
I've been same amount of time.
Same amount of time.
So like basically when I started out, I got married, I came back, enrolled in school, built a booth. So before I was doing the school, I did it for a hobby for like 2 or 3 years, audio engineered out of my house. And then I really took it serious. I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm not doing anything else. I decided to go to Full Sail. I got my degree. And as I was starting with Full Sail, I immediately started my business. So like I was directly applying stuff that I learned at school to my clients as I was recording them in my house. So I started a booth made out of closet doors in my house, a makeshift. And then, like gradually just kept on improving. So then, eventually, like a year later, I'd build a booth up there made out of drywall and, made right. And then, like 2 years later, we moved to the basement and spent like 10 grand to build out the full studio. And then, a couple years later, I moved to the real location, and then just kept on like progressing. And that's super important, is that a lot of artists I feel like that I work with don't understand that they get stuck in the now, and they don't understand like, oh, well, I'm not where I'm at, I'm not where I want to be, but don't understand that you like on the way and get stuck and want to stop because they're not seeing the success that they think they should be by now. And I feel like you got to really sit back and understand that, like the way you're doing right now, the grind, you can't skip that. Like you can't skip that. You got to like go through that, and like it's gonna get harder every day, but it's also gonna get better every day. You're gonna learn more. You're gonna be able to be a better artist, be a better entrepreneur. But you just have to have more and more resiliency and be able to follow through on these goals that you have. Like make sure and not all the goals that you have are gonna come to fruition. Like as creative and entrepreneurs, we have a million ideas a day. So it's important just to understand, like you like to take those little wins as value as much as you do the little L's. Like don't make them bigger than they are or littler than they are. I think it's important to see the wins that you have as valuable as stepping stones to that next level.
Man, you just said you just pointed out some really good things there. I think, and another thing, I don't think a lot of artists have goals. I think that their mindset is, I want to be Drake, I want to be Justin Bieber, and that's all they see, and they don't really like picture other ways. Like you can be a very successful artist without being a millionaire.
Yeah, you don't have to. Like you can make that. Like there's a lot of artists that can make a comfortable living by doing their business the right way without being famous.
Yes.
Because I feel like a lot of artists' intent is to be famous, not to be successful. And there's a difference between fame and success. Like you gotta learn what that is, And now, I mean, that's each one has their own preference, on what they want to do as their career. But I'm always gonna pick success over fame at this point.
Oh yeah, 100%. And maybe it's we're also getting older and we're really like learning. So maybe it's when you're 16, 17, 18, whatever, and you're wanting to be an artist, all you see is the glitz and the glamour.
Right.
And after like 24, 25, starts kind of fizzling out. You say, okay, maybe it's not all about that. But maybe, I don't know. I think that we do have to. Someone has to teach, especially where we come from, artists that there's more to being success or more to music and being creative than being a millionaire. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to be, well, let's not even say a millionaire. It's more to being it without being a celebrity.
Right.
You can really make great money. And that's another thing you'll learn with Clubhouse. You'll get in a room with a dude who writes for Chris Brown, Drake, Rihanna. He writes their songs.
Right.
Never knew his name. He has
Right.
100 followers, 200 followers on Instagram. He's a
cashing checks.
nobody cashing checks and doing what he loves to do.
Right.
And I think
that's what's important. Like making money, doing what you love to do. That's the whole point of all this. I mean, at least for me, like if you're not doing it for that alone, like I feel like you're kind of gonna be misleading yourself if you're not doing it for that purpose. Anything really, like whether it's art or business or whatever. If you're not doing it because it makes you happy, you're probably not gonna be successful at it, because that's the core motivation that makes you want to continue doing it.
Mm-hmm. So I got a question for you that I've been kind of going back and forth with, and I'm starting to get into myself. So as an engineer and as a producer, do you feel, and I'm just strictly speaking the engineering side, do you feel as if you should have a percentage in the song that you help produce?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the relationship beforehand. Like if there's a paid to hire situation where, hey, like for example, if you book a recording session with me and you say, hey, I want 1 hour, I'm going to record this, and that's done, you pay me your money and that's it. That's a paid to hire situation, which means you pay me the money and that's not included. So I'm not getting, you don't owe me anything as far as the rights to the song. Now, if we are working on a project, I mean, and that's just me personally. If we're working on a project long term, and we're setting up those things in advance, and I'm more invested in the project than just, you're just an artist that came in to record one song. That's different. For me, after doing this so long, I'm trying to work with artists that are trying to take this to that next level. So, if I'm gonna, we're not gonna really worry about the cost of studio time if we're working on a project like that, because it's going to come out of that at the end, so, it's a give and take. If you're working with someone that, you're going to be doing that with for a long time, then you might want to consider doing some of that back end percentages off of the music. But again, like most artists don't even have their stuff set up the right way anyway.
You do it.
So, like, how you're not getting 15% off the back end of zero is zero, so like I mean, it's just a matter of just educating more and more about PROs, who needs to get paid. I mean, I think officially, like, you're supposed to get paid regardless, because like the engineers putting their skills and their creativity into that project, like depending on what, there's a lot of nuances in the creative fields. You could be the guy recording it. You could be the guy mixing it. You could be the guy, just editing the breaths out and did nothing else. So it just depends on, what role you played in the production of the song or the album, and what was the intent in the beginning. If I'm going to be on the back of that project as audio engineer for the whole project, you damn straight want somebody off the back end, but it's a give and take, especially if you're a upcoming engineer and you're starting out. Don't say no to anything at this point, but at the same time, know your worth. Don't get played. Don't get used either, like keep your energy and keep your craft, used upon people that you think deserve it, like I feel like a lot of artists get mad because they think that audio engineers pick and choose who they work with. But, in my opinion, that's their choice. I'm not intended to work with everybody. Like Dre says that you're not supposed to work with every artist. Like if I'm not vibing with that artist, we're not going to work together. Like it's no hard feelings. It's just like, that's how it is. Like you're supposed to work on songs that you, again, back to the point, you work with people that you want to, you do things because you love it. So if I'm not feeling this project, I'm not probably going to do my best work. And if you're not going to do your best work, why put any effort into it? Like I feel like you need to be selective about what you work on, because you're going to put your best effort and best work forward on projects that you really want to work on more than anything, So if you got an artist that you're really feeling, and he's doing his business right, and he's doing his, and he's doing his art right, push him, work with him hard, like don't be afraid to work on anything really with artists,
Yeah, I respect that. I definitely wanted to get your opinion on it because it's just something that I've been thinking about. I was like, man, over these years, it's like, I mean, I've paid good money on engineering. I've always been that, where I had some type of bartering system, or we've always had something set in place.
Right.
But I never actually, it never occurred to me that the engineer could get a percentage of the song. Right. And so when I started learning that, I was like, man, let's see where that makes sense. And I think overall, you go back to what you were saying, it's really about negotiation.
Yeah, I mean, it's about negotiation, and for me, it's about creativity. If I'm putting a lot of creativity in this project, other than just making you sound good, then I feel like, as an audio engineer or audio producer, because there's vocal producers, there's executive producers, there's more producers than just making a beat. So if you're doing a lot of things on that project, you deserve to get your percentage that you're due. So. Yeah. I think that's a biggest, and that goes all back to education in the community here in the Midwest, is that the more we know, the more that it's going to affect all of us. I have a lot of different things like that I want to start like trying to push around here. Is that if we set a standard rate for studio time in the Midwest, it's going to help us grow that business. It's going to help us, just like photography or whatever, like industry standards on what the minimum wage is that they're going to be paid. Why there should be set guidelines for those types of crafts, like in the gig economy, that are set up in other fields that are just like left out for the creatives.
You think it's because we're not unionized?
I think that has a lot to do with it. Yeah, but I don't want to really push too far on the unionized, but because I don't really know too much about it, but I feel like there is some potential there to offer freelancers and gig economy and creatives like some increase of quality of life. If you're, I know like a lot of co-working spaces in Atlanta and across the country are unionizing and getting like group rates on insurance and health insurance and things like that otherwise creatives, really aren't able to get access to, besides maybe a full-time job unrelated to their, what they really want to do. And so, for me, I haven't had health insurance for like the first 5 or 6 years of doing this. I didn't have any health insurance. So I had to choose between working a full-time job that I hated and getting those benefits, or really, not getting sick for a couple of days.
Right, try your hardest to stay not sick. Yeah.
Right. So I feel like, those types of things are benefits that I feel like the creative industry really needs more than ever after. I mean, seeing how everything happened with COVID, man, like we went from entertaining people on a regular to like just dropped off the face of the earth, so I just feel like there's a lot of need here in the creative scene, not just in the Midwest, but just this is where we live, so that's where I'm gonna,
what we're gonna talk about. Yeah. It's hard, man. I definitely feel you there, because you're just like stuck between. It's like, okay, I can work this full-time job or be a full-time artist, but either way, I either gotta have health insurance or I don't. So that would definitely be something helpful. As in the acting world, I've kind of seen that that's what people like try to push themselves for, is being unionized, and it makes them, it also makes you feel more legit. So it's also an ego stroke. You know what I mean? As a musician, it's the same way as like 5 years ago. If you got on Spotify, Apple Music, all that, as a local artist, it's an ego stroke. Now everybody's
right.
So
it was huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely something I've noticed. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. How many mistakes do you think you've made over the last 9 years being an entrepreneur?
Oh man, I mean, I don't have that many. I don't even think I can count that high. But I feel like I know it might sound corny, but it's not the amount of mistakes you make; it's how many times you get up. And like, like in March, I was ready to quit, man. I was ready to throw in the towel. We got kicked out of our place 2 weeks before COVID happened, and due to some like really not anything to do with our fault or anything, but I was ready to give up, and now like I'm in a better place than I've ever been. We're about to relaunch our new facility. Construction starts next month for our booth. So it's just like,
nice.
Getting more and more bigger clients that I really didn't have access to before. And it's just like everything kind of works out the way it's intended if you really put that energy into the world and continue to work hard towards your craft. Um, it takes a lot of resiliency. Like you really just got to be tough. You can't really give up at all.
Truth. I only asked the question because I just want it's for the audience to understand it, man. When you're an entrepreneur, you're an artist, you don't have to give up. It's hard. It's gonna be hard. You're
gonna make mistakes.
Millions of mistakes.
Yeah, but those mistakes are what are gonna make you stronger and be able to learn. Like
if you're trying to learn
from if you're not learning from your mistakes, then I don't know what to tell you. But like every time I get bumped in the head, I'm not trying to get hit again. So,
right, exactly. You gotta duck sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm definitely happy. This is good energy, good conversation because I really want people to understand this, that there's so much to this. It's not just let's go in my field. It's not just go rap and get on a mic. Like there's so much more. It's not just go get FL Studios or Logic and just start recording people. There's so much to it, So what do you think is one of the most difficult things for you being an engineer, and then the second question is going to go towards being an entrepreneur?
I think the biggest thing being an entrepreneur, being an engineer for me was really just like explaining it to other people, like my parentals and different things like that. They didn't really understand it. Like to this day, I don't think my parents know what an audio engineer is, so like it's hard for people to support things that they don't understand. Mm-hmm. And so like, there's going to be a lot of like just different viewpoints on it. Like you ever seen those memes where it's like friends think I do, like mom, and it's similar to that, where people don't really understand fully what an audio engineer or producer does unless you're actually one of the people that do those things. And so, in the Midwest, especially, there's not a lot of like, it's not known for creativity. It's not known for that. So, it's kind of an uphill battle working on, especially in the hip hop scene, trying to be an audio engineer in Iowa for hip hop or R&B or those type of genres, because not only are you dealing with, barriers that are to the entrepreneur scene, but you're also dealing with racial barriers across a whole genre in Iowa that, we could talk about a whole nother show about, but, just different things on the entrepreneur side is like, figuring out how to get figuring out how to get funding and figuring out how to get capital for your business. And, like learning, like, at some point I had to kind of like put a pause on the audio engineering stuff because I had to focus on catching up on learning all these business things as the business was growing. Mm-hmm. And so I recommend from any entrepreneur, like day one, make sure you start keeping track of the things you buy for your business, whether you think that it's for your business or not. Just keep a track of those things, because a lot of people starting out as business owners, they'll be like, well, I'm not going to start reclaiming my stuff to the taxes until we make this much money. And it's like because they think like the government's going to take more money from you, but realistically, you're missing out on a lot of benefits by claiming that stuff. If you're not claiming taxes on your money, your business is not gonna look like it's making any money on paper. So when you go to the bank and you say, hey, this is how much money you're making and this is how much money we want to loan, they're gonna look at you like, but you're not making any money on paper. You're not claiming any of this. So that's how they're gonna go off of it,
Right.
So it's crucial to get your finances in order early, man, because 5 years down the line, you don't know what your business is now or where it's going to be. And having all those practices and those ways of doing your finances in advance is just going to make it way more easier in the future.
Man, great answer. I appreciate you, man. I'm gonna pull up your and pull up your social media for people. But is there any last words? Because I appreciate you for coming on. I'm happy that we got to have this conversation because there's some gems in here. There's definitely some gems in here.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Make sure you follow me on social media, Gravy's World. Also, my underground economy page is it's going to be reopening here pretty soon. We got a podcast, recording studio, anything like that you guys need. We have a workstation for video editing and any kind of editing that you need to get done. So I'm just trying to make this place a place for creative entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs to really just have all the resources that they need. I'm hoping to have a place where you can rent out cameras, you can rent out all the equipment that you need to push your brand, and really kind of just build it here with us. So I appreciate you having me on the show, man. And anybody out there building their business, keep on going, man. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to hit my inbox. I'll be sure to answer for sure.
yeah, man, appreciate you, boss, man. I'm gonna definitely be in touch. We gotta do another one of those Iowa cookups too.
Yeah, I'm about to do another one soon. Yeah.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon, boss.
Yeah, have a good one, bro.
You too.
Later.
Man, amazing. I hope that you guys got some information from that. Everyone watching, I appreciate you. Casper Consulting Live Q&A. Great information, entrepreneurship, engineering. Just, you go back and revisit it if you didn't get a chance to be here for all of it. You know who I am. I'm CHISongwriter. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all check out the music, the poetry, the acting, the consulting, the marketing. So if you guys need help with anything, reach out and we'll talk and we can see what we can do. I'm definitely looking forward to the conversation. You guys have a good one and thanks for watching.